is only 18 years old at this point and had been living with Percy Shelley for 2 years. Now, much of that time was spent dodging creditors. Even though Shelley has £1,000 a year at his disposal, he goes through money like water. And avoiding the public outcry, they're constantly on the run. Avoiding the public outcry, attending to Shelley's desertion of his first wife, Harriet, and their 2 children. Now, the Shelleys, Claire Claremont, Dr. Polidori, and the depraved genius, Lord Byron, set up neighboring households on the shores of Lake Geneva, and the horror story writing contest begins. Now, Mary at first has trouble coming up with an idea, but she is inspired when she has a waking dream or vision, and she's also inspired by the experiments of Dr. Erasmus Darwin. Darwin had managed to achieve voluntary movement or motion via electricity on a piece of vermicelli inside a glass cage. There's a lot of experiments going on during this point in time with electricity. Mary talks about reviving or creating a being from component parts, and later on has that vision or waking dream about a phantom of a man coming to life. This original oral version of the story, which Mary recites to the rest of them, included the scenario surrounding the creature's awakening and Dr. Frankenstein's horror at his own handiwork. Percy, impressed by what he has heard, urges Mary to develop this oral tale, this oral story, into a book of novel length, and gives Mary editorial advice by writing his suggestions on the margins. We have the original manuscript, so we know Shelley was writing advice on the original manuscript pages. Frankenstein will then be published anonymously a year and a half later. The Shelleys will be in Italy at this time, and they get reports of the book's success. But they don't see very much money from the novel. Frankenstein will actually get good reviews, and everyone assumed it to be the work of a man. And, of course, rumors attributed the work to Percy Shelley, not to Mary Shelley. Mary claimed that writing the novel actually frightened her, and that horror, this horror is not only described but rendered dramatically, as the creature's appearance guarantees his loneliness, and ultimately he becomes horrible in behavior and turns vengeful and murderous. The novel contains a warning against taking knowledge into forbidden realms. Dr. Frankenstein is not a master scientist in the original novel, but an idealistic and clever Geneva student of natural philosophy. Frankenstein is prone to tinkering. He's impatient, and he has a lack of foresight. He discovers the secret of creating life from inanimate matter while he's at the University of Ingolstadt. He collects bones from charnel houses and constructs the semblance of a human being, and then gives it life via electricity. Now, the doctor's real sin here is his ambition, which makes him forget all the rules of natural law. The creature's complaint, of course, is that the doctor has abandoned him, abandoned his own offspring, and failed his obligations as a parent. He creates the creature, then disowns it. The creature is endowed, of course, with supernatural strength and size, and is terrible to look at. The creature inspires loathing and fear, and he is lonely and miserable. The creature educates himself in human emotion by teaching himself to read, and he reads great literature. For example, he reads Plutarch, he reads Goethe, and he reads Milton's Paradise Lost. Now, the creature turns upon its creator, and failing to persuade him to create a female counterpart, he wants a bride, eventually murders Dr. Frankenstein's brother, his friends, and his bride, Elizabeth. Dr. Frankenstein pursues his creation to the Arctic and tries to destroy it, but dies in this pursuit after relating his story to Walton, an English explorer who's in the Arctic. The action of the novel is told through letters. The novel is in epistolary form. The letters are written by Walton, the Arctic explorer. He writes the letters to his sister. Frankenstein is not only the origin of modern horror and modern science fiction literature, but it's also a version of the myth of the noble savage, in which a nature that is essentially good is corrupted and destroyed by ill treatment. The novel is remarkable for its descriptions of nature, and Mary Shelley was very well versed in the science of her day. She is really the mother of science fiction and the fundamental lever of power and human control enters the science fiction genre via Mary Shelley. For only via, in the novel, only via scientific research does Dr. Frankenstein achieve the seemingly impossible, the creation of life from death. The novel's emphasis on pain and exile were influenced by, events in Mary's own life. Her father, William Godwin, whose radical beliefs led his daughter to expect otherwise, forbids any member of her family to contact her when Mary's second child is born. The first was a girl named Clara, who is born premature and dies in infancy. She names her son, who dies young, very young. She names him William after her father. But Mr. Godwin still refuses to acknowledge his grandson's birth. Mary connects the ideas of death and childbirth in Frankenstein. She has recurring dreams that her dead baby girl, Clara, has returned to life again. And Mary's own birth, of course, had caused her mother's death. So she knows her own mother only by stories told to her about her dead parents' dedication to socialist and feminist revolutionary causes by friends and family. She never knew her mother. Mother dies several days after Mary's birth because of blood poisoning. Now, Mary's lover, Percy Shelley, is in fact the stereotype of the romantic poet. And he carries her off at age 16 across the continent of Europe without marrying her. Mary is surrounded by illegitimate children and infant deaths. The Shelleys subsist on high ideals. They want to remake the world. They want to remake the world via literature, liberation, and rebellion. The men in this group, Shelley, Lord Byron, and many others, are intent on achieving glory and immortality via their genius. And, ordinary concerns must not get in their way. Mary surrenders herself to this life and becomes a type of, Gothic groupie. But she also sees Byron, Lord Byron, and Percy Shelley's vanity and selfishness, I should say. At the center of the novel is a godless universe, and a young and unknown Victor Frankenstein seeks fame in this godless universe. The only salvation and eternity is fame. It's the only salvation and eternity offered in this atheistic world. Frankenstein throws himself into the fanatic attempt to create human life and takes on the role of God. And with his success, he damns himself. He's discontent with the lot of humanity. He seeks a new type of release, a release into superhuman, godlike existence. The novel, Frankenstein, is always grim in its vision and never forgets that the production of artificial life carries dire consequences, catastrophic horror, and death. Frankenstein flees to his bedchamber upon the awakening of the monster, of the creature, via electricity, of course. And the doctor dreams of Elizabeth, his foster sister and true love. In his embrace, in the dream, Elizabeth turns into the corpse of Frankenstein's dead mother. This corpse is crawling with maggots. Frankenstein had hoped to achieve a scientific miracle, but has in fact achieved nothing by the violation of God and Mother Nature itself. The novel's remarkable narrative structure has a type of stinging slap to the face of Mary's own friends and family. The book's usually ambitious subtitle really tells you this: The Modern Prometheus. The book is, biblical, Miltonian. References to the Bible and references to Paradise Lost abound. They are rooted deeply in the text. They're stark quotations from the Old Testament and Paradise Lost all over the novel. They describe the abandonment felt by the creature, whose existence without any social ties is simply unbearable. The creature's sadness, his pathos, is the strength of Mary Shelley's remarkable novel. Frankenstein becomes the most famous story written in modern times and captures the world's imagination, achieving a type of celebrity. The plot of the novel becomes its own history and creates an enduring mythos, a creation that establishes a life for itself, independent of the control and expectations of its creator. The Frankenstein mythos gives a definitive and formal shape to an idea of central importance to our modern and industrialized society. The novel becomes the force and fertility of a vital, enduring cultural myth, a myth that is accessible and meaningful to all people, regardless of their social and educational levels. Frankenstein is, basically for everyone. It excites the imagination of successive generations, and Mary Shelley's story is continually retold and continually recast for new ages. Now, in Switzerland, while Mary Shelley's